started, everyone make sure you turn.
That's right.
Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Philip Dixon, Chairman of the Board of Architectural Review, and I welcome you to the board meeting. It's now 6 o'clock. It's September 7th, and time scheduled for our meeting to begin. Depending on the size or complexity of a project, each applicant has the opportunity to present a conceptual or master plan for our review prior to committing funds for full set of design plans or specs. Approval of a concept means that we might agree with the concept while disagreeing with some of the details. It also means that each phase of the project must be submitted at a later date once plans are more fully developed to obtain the board's final approval for the individual portion of the project. Hopefully, any disagreements will have been worked out before the applicant comes back before the board. One of the projects being reviewed this evening has been submitted before and is now ready to be considered for further approval. For those of you who are new to our meeting, our change is to look at each project purely on aesthetics, design, architecture, height, mass, and scale, and in harmony with the historic district in the town of Somerville. We look at the overall street scene. Although we're not required to solicit comments from anyone other than the applicant and the board members, except for demolition requests, we usually choose to allow others to express comments that might help influence our decision making after the applicant has presented the project and the board members have resolved any questions they might have. Because of the number of projects, we ask that anyone wishing to comment limit to no more than 5 minutes, and we don't have anyone here, so probably that won't be of effect. As always, we review each submittal in the order that it was submitted. However, in the first order of business, we must approve the minutes of our last meeting, which were sent to board members for review prior to this meeting. Are there any changes that need to be made, or do I have a motion that they be accepted? In a second,
I'll second.
thank you. All in favor, please respond with yes or no when I call your name. David,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and I say yes. First project on our list tonight is 713 West Carolina Avenue. And
So Mr. English is not here tonight. He's out of town. The only thing that has changed in your packet from the previous packet is that Mr. English has confirmed that he will not be painting the structure, and I have included more pictures of his home. So if y'all want me to jump to anything in particular, let me know.
the main thing is that there is a question as to the setback. And he's got a meeting with the
Board of Zoning Appeals.
that committee on the 11th. So anything that we do will be contingent upon their approval or disapproval of a change in set or requiring you to move the building.
Well, I really have no objections to that building. So long as it meets the code requirements for setbacks. Seems to be pretty well hidden in the back, and we haven't heard any complaints from neighboring properties. And it will weather.
Yeah, that's
That's what I was concerned about, whether it would weather or not.
Yes, it looks like it's
It's out of
probably
time.
seat, you think it's fine.
It's either pine or cedar.
I have the spec sheet here. Let's see if I can.
I mean, I would say typically we would have requested that it be painted to match the buildings from our typical examples. But it is kind of hidden in the back of the property, so I don't feel strongly that it needs to be. When you look at the
Might
picture
even-
you included from the driveway, you can barely see it back there. So,
Yeah. Well, that plus the fact that a lot of it is open. I mean, it's got glass or something for,
Yeah,
because it's a greenhouse.
yeah. So I don't really have a problem with it either.
The previous problem was the process. There,
Right.
Well, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve this building contingent upon Board of Zoning appeals confirming that it's code compliant in its placement.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, all respond yes or no. David,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and I say yes. So
All right.
hopefully he will not have to move it. That is, that they'll grant his zoning thing. The next one is Mike. I think that's you. Would you come up and tell us about it? 300 South Main Street.
And Mike, if you could just sign in on that paper.
Okay. Okay.
You've done a lot of work on that house lately.
Yes, and I've got to slow down. I don't have any money left. But I'm gonna still try to keep going. But yeah, we put a lot of time and effort and work into that house. Built in 1887, according to the scratch on the fireplace that was anyhow, 1887. Nothing had really been done to the house in about 35 years, so we did do a lot. So there was the carport area that we're going through now.
So Mike, did you buy this place?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Thanks.
So it's our residence. The reason you see DB Properties as the owner is because that's the only way the bank would loan me the money quickly. So, but yes, it's our residence, and I'm looking to put a cottage in the back, which is up there now. I do plan on, at least for now, renting the cottage as a short-term rental. My folks are 76 and 77, so they may be headed our way sometime in the future. So I've got it designed so that mom and dad could have their separate areas, which seems to be the older you get, the more you want separate areas. Especially in my parents' case. So they've got their own living room, they got their own bedrooms. Hopefully that'll keep them together. But anyhow, I was trying to have something that would go with the house. So a lot of the exterior finishes, the metal roof, and to talk about the metal roof, what's on the house right now is a very old original roof. You know, the new roof that would go on this wouldn't of course match exactly. It would be a stand and seam roof. I recently, with the same color and everything, recoated and sealed the roof. So it doesn't look like the shiny aluminum that you would see on something like this. So I'm even considering to make it look more like the house, to even coat the new roof with this product so that it all just looks the same, because that's gonna stand out back there. So anyhow, just an option that I'm throwing out there. The siding, it's a wood lap siding, so it would match exactly. I added on to the back of the house, I guess it's been 8-9 months now, of 500
Yeah.
square foot addition. So I was able to match the siding from Berlin G. So we've got a real good match on the siding. And then the roof and the eaves, there's a lot of detail in that house. When you look at the eaves, you've got the crown molding that's under the eaves, and then you've got the crown molding that's right underneath the shingle mold as well. So, you know, I just want it to match exactly like the house. So the eaves, the roof, the siding, and really the only thing we've got left is the windows. So, the windows on that house are the original windows, and I was able to reuse most of the windows that I pulled out of one wall to put back in the new addition. So it's on the old windows on the side. Somebody in like a chalk marker had written Somerville SC. So I think they came from somewhere up north. I thought I saw an identifier. Man, thought I'd turn it on. But anyhow, so the windows, it'd be a 2/2 grid pattern. And we could certainly match the windows in the house very, very closely. And siding, eaves, roof, all that would match. The columns that I'm showing there's turn columns on the front of the house. When I took the old screen porch off the back of the house, we've got some 6x6 columns. And the edges are actually clipped at like a 45, and then they kind of round off at the top. I've still got 4 of those. I kept every piece of wood that we took out of that house. It's the old pine. It's not that light. So anyhow, I was thinking about using those columns back there. I had put on there wood columns to match the main house, which the only columns on that house right now are the ones in the front. The ones in the front are going to be very difficult to match. And I have, like I said, the old columns off of the old porch, which are different than that. But I feel that being where they are in the back, but I do like the detail up in the corners. I would like to match that detail if I could up in the 2 corners of the columns. I would need to get some CNC machine or something and make those to match, but I do like that detail. We have the pickets or the balusters. On the front of the house, we've got turned balusters that are, for the most part, original, which are under the covered part of the house. But when you go down the side porches and along the back porch, those are 2x2 square pickets. So I don't know. I would think if we could use the original square posts that I have that are clipped on the corners, do the detail to match the front porch up in the top corners, and then if we went with the square 2x2 pickets that would kind of go with the columns, I would think that would look pretty good. But the porch ceiling would be beadboard to match the front porch ceiling. It'd have crown in the top portion of it. The foundation, we dug up brick out of the yard for weeks, and we cleaned thousands of bricks, and we used them for the columns underneath the addition. I don't have any of those left, but I know I can get a pretty close match. So the columns will match the brick on the house as close as possible. And then in between the piers, I was going to use a treated decking board and run horizontally. And the porch floor would be a pine 1x4 treated board that would match the front porch.
Are you talking about between the piers running butted boards, or as a louver, or?
Yeah, I would leave a 3/4, 1 inch gap to allow it to breathe.
But they'd be flat.
Yes, yes.
Regarding your using the square posts columns, I don't see a problem with that. I mean, this is a building that's subservient to the main house, and you're bringing some material that was originally in the main house, and it's historically sound material.
You don't have to have a picture, do you?
I do not.
But they're just chamfered columns, right?
Yes, yes. So
What are they 4x4s or
6x6s?
6x6s, but the edges are chamfered,
that's right. But
but they're straight otherwise.
yeah, but they stop about a foot below the
Yeah, that's
base,
standard.
and then they stop below the top. So it goes up straight, comes in, and then it curves back up at the top, which would allow me to get that detail at the top, I think, too.
So they're not chamfered on the bottom and the top.
Correct.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, I think it gives a good look, stopping it there as well and not going all the way with it. But,
Mhm. Becky, can you put it on the front elevation real quick? Faces the street.
Maybe 27.
oh, the existing house, yeah, 27 on the left. If that's what you're.
Thank you. Thank you. So on the eave detail, this doesn't show that the skirt board, a freeze board, I guess, as you call it, that's on the existing house. Are you planning to put a freeze board like the existing house?
Well, the difference here is, everything on the existing house is a hip roof. I don't have any gables.
Mhm.
Certainly, I think a freeze board, yes, would add some detail. I wouldn't go with the freeze board that's as big as on the house. I think it's like a 1x12.
Yeah, it's very big on there.
Period.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't want to go that big, but I would think, yes, a freeze board like a 1x4 or a 1x6 at the most would probably look good in that detail.
And what about like your corners? I see here, it doesn't show corner boards. They just show that the siding goes all the way mitered on the corner.
Well, and then that little detail got left off. So what's on the main house, and to match it exactly, it's not two 2x4s or two 2x6s. It's one there.
Yeah, I see it right there.
It's one 2x4 where
Which
everything
is-
butts in.
Very, very common for that
Yeah.
time period.
Yep.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. All right, thanks.
So for the pickets, you could go either way with them?
I could,
Are you asking to do the square ones?
I think I'm leaning towards the square ones just because that's what wraps around the back. The columns on the front are rounded, which kind of goes with the rounded ballast. I feel like if you'll let me use those old posts that are more squared off, I think the square pickets would tie in a little bit better back there. And once again, being that secondary structure, maybe give the house all the flair and let this guy just kind of be back there minding his business.
Hey, could you mind go back to the front elevation one more time? And slide over just a little bit so we can see that rail. So there, it kind of looks like there's a little thin metal rail. That's not your intent, though. All right, it actually says metal rail, so that is your intent?
There was some details in here that the guy doing the drawings was just kind of, I
Okay,
don't know. I really hadn't given that little detail a whole bunch of thought. I could really live with that.
You thinking something?
Probably easier.
well, I
Go to
was
work
thinking
and
maybe
easier
actually if
for you to
those
do both.
rails, if that rail coming at the front door matched the house, so that from the street, it kind of has that little decorative entrance.
Mhm.
And the rails have turn pickets and the handrails match. And then once you go past that door and it's the side, then you go to a little more simplified structure. That's, I mean, if you use traditional wrought iron railings, like that's what I have on my house and that works, but you also can have but a little thin, cheap metal rail just isn't going to be appropriate,
No, we
so-
definitely weren't doing that. So yeah, it was certainly going to be some sort of wrought iron type decorative railing. Or I could do wood, with the brick steps. Maybe something wrought iron would look better. Or if we went with the wood handrails, I could go with wood steps.
I think you can do the wood handrails on either, whether you have brick or wood. So. And it's, and I don't have a big preference on whether they're wood steps or metal steps or brick steps personally. I'm much like David, it's kind of a side structure, we don't want to make this the showpiece, so I think if you pick up some of the common details and implement them here, but without quite as much grandeur, I think that's okay, personally.
Yeah.
So,
I love the idea that you're repurposing the columns that came off the side of the house. and the
Yeah, I
trees.
was digging through the wood pile back there the other day and getting bit by 10,000 mosquitoes.
there are a lot of mosquitoes around.
Oh, there's the old columns. And so,
Oh, that's fine.
so yeah,
Yeah.
they just need to be cleaned up real good. But yeah.
I could probably build a small house with the wood that I've stored under our house. Things I've taken off,
Mm,
redone.
Yeah, we didn't throw away anything. We kept it all.
Yeah, you'd be far better to use the square
So are we,
balusters rather than the turn ones. 'Cause you pay a cow and a calf to get
Yes,
those.
I have used them and priced them out for sure. So.
so there's kind of two pieces to this, right? There's this cottage and then there's the existing shed that got closed in, correct? Okay. So are we voting on them collectively or independently?
Why don't
Well,
we
I think
vote
for
on
simplicity, why don't we keep them separate?
this? Right,
So that way the motions can be cleaner and easier, if you guys are okay with that.
that's what I was going to propose.
All right.
Ask one more question. The cottage has two front doors?
Yes,
Okay.
Yep.
all right.
I was just, originally I had it kind of as 2 units with a wall in between it. And then Becca said that, you really couldn't do that, but I really like the way it was laid out. And plus sometimes the farther apart my mom and dad are, the better it
I
is.
understand.
So, if he doesn't have to walk through the middle of her side of the living room, it might have saved it.
The zoning only allows for one accessory dwelling unit
Gotcha.
in GR2 or GR5, sorry, GR5.
Like you're not gonna sneak in after approval and divide this thing into two, are you?
He knows I'm watching him across the street.
You're pretty close to town hall right there, so.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's hard to do much.
Yeah.
Mom and dad might hang a sheet in the middle.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. I'm sure, actually,
Hey, Airbnb, you can rent by the room, so.
All right.
Any other? What's about the other,
Well, I guess I'd make a motion. Well, let's make a motion on this and deal with the shed as a separate
If you
deal.
want, I
'Cause
thought the
I've
other
got
one
some
said-
more
I
questions on
thought they were
that.
just moving it. But the other one,
I think it's more to it.
There's
So,
one being moved and then one was enclosed.
One was enclosed, yeah. So,
You want to make a motion on this?
Well,
sure. So I'd make a motion that we approve as submitted with the following caveats or the following parameters. First, the standing seam roof would meet our guidelines. So that's a 1-inch standing seam with no striations, 16 inches wide or no way, whatever it says in the guidelines. That the windows would be simulated divided light, so no glass, no buttons between the glass. They have to be simulated divided light. And that the trim details on the windows and the corners would match closely to the existing house. And I'll throw in the freeze boards as well. So smaller freeze board, I think, is appropriate for this. That one is massive on yours, but a 6 or 8 inch freeze board running around this house would improve the looks of this, in my opinion. And then we'll just say on the front rails that the front rails would be wood rails to match the front rails on the existing house. So those are my
Which front
suggestions.
rail?
Just these going up to this front door. So just these
And
two
then-
little ones.
And then the porch would be
The
the chamfered columns
The-
and square pickets.
right, the porch would be reused existing chamfered columns and square pickets.
okay.
second.
Second,
All right. Please answer yes or no when I call your name. David,
Yes.
yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and I say yes. So you're on your way, sir. You're on
Right,
your way on that
so
one. Now,
This is. Oops. This is the one that was enclosed, so if y'all want to discuss that one first and then discuss the one that's moving.
Alrighty.
Give us some history.
So yeah, because you know better than that, Mike.
Yes.
You've been in here too many times to know you can't do that.
Oh, no, and I'm right across the street, so
Yeah.
I was. Yes. So, I did get ahead of myself, obviously. I did match the house, with the siding, the A-frame with the two small doors up there and it's like a thin T111, that was existing, so the barn doors and the siding, that's what I put up. Where that tarp is on the right was where all of my woodworking tools and all of my stuff was getting completely ruined. And I wanted to get it inside as fast as possible, so.
So Mike,
The pre-
go ahead. No, go ahead.
The previous picture that you showed, that was a side view of this before the siding was put on.
No, that is the back. Currently,
So it's still
This-
open,
This,
just with lattice on the back?
yes.
what is this view here?
That is from the sidewalk facing Main Street.
The way it used to look?
Nope, the way it is.
That's,
Well, it's not closed.
What got enclosed then?
The four sides. You just can't see through the bushes and stuff. The siding's there.
Okay.
Oh,
How the one with the lattice? Is that
What's
lattice over the
behind-
siding?
No, that is the very back. Right up against the back fence facing my neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So it's not completely closed in then. It's open with lattice.
Yeah, the back 6 foot is open with the lattice across the back. Well, there you go. And I've got my rakes and
Oh,
shovels.
I see. So you've got portion of the shed that's open
Yes,
back
yes.
there.
And
and
my
then you-
neighbor who's right behind me, we talk all the time. So we were talking over the fence this weekend, so.
And then you added some lattice to the back side of that.
Yes.
To kind of screen that for him.
Yeah, I was trying to screen it for him and he was very appreciative.
Okay. And Mike, it's hard for me to tell, but almost looks like vinyl siding.
No, it's wood,
It is wood siding.
matches the house exactly.
Okay.
And that's the same stuff I got from Berlin G for the addition on the house. And that's exactly what I'll be using on the cottage.
Okay. And the little barn doors on the top of the shed were existing, you say? That part was already there?
It is, and I don't like it. I don't think it looks good. I'd like to probably take those doors off. Cause I don't like the doors over the doors. And I don't need doors up there. I'm not putting anything up there. I
Right.
really like to do away with it.
You could just carry the clapboard on up.
Well, and before I left the house, I meant to take a picture, but it wasn't included in this. In the very gate, I have one little gable in the front of my house that you can only see if you back up and look at it. But there is some pretty detailed scallop like siding that's up there, two different kinds. There's one that's like a wavy, and then there's one that's got sharp points in it. I would almost want to pull that detail over there, but I mean, I don't have that picture with me. We can, I could submit that for later.
Sure.
Sounds like
Is-
that's the next project,
What's that?
as it sounds like that would be the next project. When you
Yeah.
get all this done.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of one of those things, once the siding and the doors did go up, I stood back, man, those doors up top on top of the other doors. I don't like that.
And is this finished? Are the doors designed to be white with the gray X's behind it? Is that, or is that just, it hasn't been painted yet or?
It hasn't been painted. I actually took those doors from another building I have over on West First. I just thought they'd fit and work perfectly. So I do want to paint those. I did think the X's standing out white would look good. That kind of light gray that's on the back behind those X's was the other building. So I guess I would just paint it the siding color. I was trying to come
Yeah.
up with something creative, but
And then just, I'm sorry to ask so many questions, but on the main house, is this the same color as the main house?
Yeah, it's exact color. Yeah.
But on the main house, the trim is all painted white, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes.
So like the corner boards and the door, like there's no trimmer. I think that what bugs me about the doors is they're not really in keeping with the historic nature of the house. The X's look like barn doors. There's no trim around the barn doors. What made it look like vinyl siding was it looked like that was a J trim extending up above the door. You see that little piece above the door, and so the siding, the lap siding isn't continuous across there and is broken. And so there's just some trimming details there that kind of, just doesn't, look kind of made me, I was just couldn't tell, from a distance.
Yeah. So on the right and left hand side, there are 2x4s running vertically where the siding butts in that does match the house. The garage doors, or those barn doors, those are treated 2x6s running vertical. And then on the inside, I've got the big track on the back side where the doors will open and
All
close.
right,
So,
gotcha.
Those are
Okay,
sliders.
they're sliders. They're not swinging doors. These are slider barn doors. Gotcha.
yeah, so
Yeah.
they open right to left. So
Yeah.
there's a big metal track on the
Gotcha.
side.
Well, I've spoken too much. I'll let my other board members. I think my preference, just personally, would be that you just kind of paint the doors white and make the X's try to go away. Because I don't think accenting the X's helps with the historic nature of the house that it sits with.
Okay.
And so I would either be in favor of removing the X's and doing something that's more in favor, or either just painting it all white and just kind of helping it go away. But I'll let everybody else speak.
And I would also add that I would like to see the little doors above the main door disappear. Maybe just close that in. I don't know what the solution, how to,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I mean, I agree. The doors above the doors I don't like, and the hardware up top is black, and it just kind of, so either I keep going with that siding, and I could put, a little, because it steps out just a little when it goes from the lap siding to that upper part. There's about 1.5 inches where it steps out a little bit. So that'd be a good spot to maybe put like a freeze board cut on an angle and then keep going with that siding. Or, and I can come back with this, is that detail, and I didn't really notice it until 6 months ago. I stepped back and looked at it and I was like, wow, there's a lot of detail in that front little gable. Until the next meeting or whatever, I can certainly go ahead and paint those doors white, which you helped me make a decision. Perfect. Because I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. But it would definitely make those X's kind of disappear a little bit.
Yeah.
So we can paint that white. And then the trim that is around the door, I can go ahead and paint that white. I think it's painted the siding color. It's why it's not really standing out. But I can certainly paint all that white and make sure those corner boards get painted.
If you put a little heavier trim around the door, could you do that? Could you case out that 2x6 that you've got with a 1x4 so that, just paint it white so it looks like it's trimmed out versus that looks like it's got no trim on it.
Yeah.
Something similar to kind of match up a detail from the house. Doesn't have to be exactly like the house, but just something to pay homage to the house, I guess is what I'll say.
Okay. Well, yeah, I could certainly go with a 2x4. And sort of another factor why I was like, all right, well, just leave it turned on its edge is because at the top I was able to get like 2 full pieces of siding. So if I put the 2x4, then I'm going to be like
Yeah, that's what
1.5
you're saying.
pieces
Yeah,
of siding at the top.
yeah,
Which,
yeah. I see what you're saying. I don't know. Maybe it's better just to leave it and just paint the doors white. I'll let everybody else say what they think. I don't have a big preference. I see what you're saying.
I think if I
having the
paint,
trim there would certainly make it look more finished.
Yeah, yeah, it would.
I think once those doors are white and I do paint that little trim around it white, I think it's really gonna come out. I mean, I can do the 2x4. I mean, it's not like I can't. I would just need to make a saw cut up the siding and take those little pieces out, set it in. I don't want to set the 2x4 on the front of the siding.
Right.
So, I want to make it look right too. So
too is kind of sitting in the back of the property.
Yeah, the problem is it's right at the end of the driveway. So as you drive by it on the street, it's what you see. It's not hidden back there. You know, the other sides, I completely agree. You don't see them at all. But this is the one you see from everybody who goes to the farmer's market, sees,
Oh, no.
sees your building
I
there.
think I know half the people at the farmer's market. We're talking.
I'm sure you do. Everybody parks in your driveway,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, it's.
So-
great. And I'll just come back with the gable part if that's okay.
Sure, man. That's great.
I'm not gonna do anything with it right now. I'll come back and we can decide what'll look best there.
Okay.
Is there another building? that we-
No. It's
So right now, there's a structure where the proposed cottage is going to go. And that is this little guy.
Is that on the property now?
Yep.
And the shutters on the house used to be pink. There.
Yeah, I
But
remember that.
anyhow, those are pink, and, it's, I don't know, they were just using it for storage. There's no utilities, there's no water, there's no,
Can you actually move it?
what's
Is it,
that?
is it movable?
I'm gonna try to get a lull in the yard and pick it up like a forklift and hopefully put it in that back corner. I'd like to use it as like a garden shed or something like that. So I'm gonna try to just pick the whole thing up. It's not that big. It's probably 8 feet deep and 14 feet wide. So I think with a lull, I can pick it up.
Becca, all this meets his coverage area? Okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with him moving the shed personally.
Does it feel pretty structurally sound?
Not really. It might break in half.
It might fall
Um,
apart.
The floor is all rotted out. I mean, it's like this far off the ground. So it's not in great shape. There's a hole in the middle of the floor. So, I'd like to try to just pick it up, move it if I can. I mean,
Was it original to the house? Do you know?
I have been told it's not. I was told it was put there 20 years or so ago from the owner. He said he got it somewhere and stuck it in the backyard. But the siding doesn't match. It's just a straight lap siding with a really heavy wood grain. So it doesn't match the house, but
All right. Beth, you want to make this motion? David, do you want to do it? I mean, I'm happy to do it if y'all want me to. All right, well, I will say that, let's make a motion that we approve the plan as presented, with the caveat that the garage doors are painted white and that you will look at adding the trim detail around those doors.
and I'll come back on the.
And you'll come back and, whatever you decide to do on the gable. And if you get into that trim detail on the doors and you're working on the gable and you don't think this is going to look right, just, you can tell us what you ended up looking at next time you come back, I guess.
Okay, and the next
So-
time I come back, the doors will be painted and.
Yeah.
maybe we really-
And if you've done it and you go, you know what, I like it the way it is with no trim detail, just bring a picture back when we deal with the gable and we can look at it again.
Okay, sure.
Since it's already there.
What about his garden shed? You want that?
Yeah, and including moving the garden shed to the proposed location.
I need a second.
A second,
All right. Lisa, David,
yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and I say yes.
Great. I can spend all my-
I think you're,
I
think you-
I'd be very happy.
you got a lot of work to do now.
Yeah,
Did-
I'm just finishing.
What did you said something about
It
your
does look good.
fireplace? You had 87.
Well, in the, if you get on the roof, there's that like stucco band
Yeah,
before it goes to the very top.
Goes back.
And on the side, and those people had very nice handwriting back. in those days. I mean, they wrote everything, but in really nice cursive like handwriting, it says 1887.
Wow.
must have been the same one that did my my chimney.
Oh, yeah?
I'm down the street on Second South
Okay.
and
okay.
and yeah, I've got and the parging in the chimney. He's got the date, his name and the date
No, like that.
on it.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
So-
since,
Are you putting the shutters back on? Were there shutters there that you took off the main house?
yeah.
Are you putting them back up or are you
I
leaving
hope
them
not.
down? You have not.
It's
I mean, I know you
just-
didn't want them pink again, but I
it's
just,
too cluttered. I think it's just too
it's on the
much.
whole side.
Yeah, it was on the whole
I
side.
saw the shutter dogs or the hardware still there, but.
And they only had it on one side. It was just
Mm-hmm.
this side.
Mhm.
And they're just like 1x6s with a board nailed on the front of it. It just looks really, really busy. I mean, when you put the shutters up there, you can't see the side.
Mhm.
It's just window shutter, window shutter, window shutter. So,
Well, y'all, we do have a guideline that I need to run by you if we're ready to move on.
So you're good.
okay.
Yeah.
One more quick
Thank
question, since you guys know a lot
Yeah.
about this stuff. Underneath the fireplace is all up. We see it all the time. There's like an area underneath this that's open, and it's arched at the top. And you see it in a bunch of old fireplaces.
That's
Mhm.
structural.
Well, they could have just ran brick all the way.
Yeah, they
it's
just
to
didn't
save
do it
brick.
back then.
To save
Yeah,
brick.
save brick.
It's just-
Back then, labor was cheap, materials were expensive, so.
Arch is strong.
All right,
Arch is strong. Yeah, I'm working on a house downtown Rutland, all the fireplaces in the basement.
have that arch in it. Yeah, it's kind of a neat detail in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also a good place to make a wine cellar.
is it?
It's not that deep.
Got two of them,
There wine cellar?
wine
How
cellars.
about that? Interesting.
Good deal. All right, well, thank you.
All right, good
Thank
luck,
you.
man.
All right.
See ya. Bye.
So I mentioned this briefly at the last meeting. I had a roofing contractor come to me and ask about the 16-inch requirement in our guidelines. It says with a panel width not exceeding 16 inches. He brought in a 17-inch panel. So I searched and searched, but I couldn't really find any reference on this about what the appropriate size. There's different answers when you look. So I've figured it might be easier to have a range for people to stay within rather than just the 16.
Yeah, I would I think mine would be a cap that it can't be any larger
A cap
than 18.
than 18.
Yeah.
What I saw mostly, and just looking through different manufacturers that make a product that would meet our guidelines, it was either 12 to 16 or 14 to 18.
Yeah,
So if
I
you
would-
want,
probably say 14 to 18 because 12 is too small.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
I mean, we don't have to put a minimum, but if you
No,
think
probably,
that's,
probably better to have a minimum.
okay. So I can edit that. Do y'all want to go ahead and vote on that, or do you want to save it until I have it updated and in front of you to read?
I think
I'd like to see what you got.
Okay, because
we're just changing the wording from a
from
16 inches to a range of.
the
14
minimum
to
14, maximum
maximum 18
18.
inches.
Which one of the,
It's guideline number 13 on page 70 under, and it's B.
okay, so this is your guideline 53.
35 B on page 70.
Guideline 35. And I'm looking at the,
No, I am too. I printed the page.
some prices per square foot building in some of them.
That you building?
Is it the same people that
Uh,
did your
two.
garage, your carport area?
Right. Well, the post and beam was put up at the same time,
That's very cute.
same people.
You adding that
Additional. guideline
You gotta add that
53 roofing.
to your place, or you got that already?
That's already-
I would
that's the
apply,
finished
yeah.
thing.
Oh,
I
that's
would
the
apply the
finished
same.
that we approved a while
Right.
back, yeah.
16.
We
which
kept-
is-
Right, and I would change
Still
that
made
as well.
change.
So 35 is the other.
Good.
Yeah.
It does. Who made that for you?
Well, the post and beam was done.
It's changed, you've changed.
Cardboard.
Okay.
Right, we've moved a few things around.
um,
So is that like a garden shed for you? That's inside,
That's Jennifer's she shed.
she said,
So do y'all want to make a motion or do you want to save that for the next meeting?
super nice.
Whatever Phil.
Whatever
Phil
you
feels
guys want,
comfortable
yeah.
with.
I think the 14 and 18 probably is good. I mean, 16 is the standard. And
We can go ahead and vote on it tonight.
Yeah.
If you
With
want
the-
to.
we got the guide in there says 16. It just says 16, doesn't give any choice. So. But yeah, I can see where a smaller house.
14 might be
would look
might be
better.
more
would look
appropriate.
better. Yeah, so I think it's a good idea.
Okay. All right, can I go ahead and make a motion then? We'll modify the historic design guidelines to a standard seam metal panel with a range of 14 to 18 inches.
I'll second.
Everybody say yes.
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 I'd say yeah.
All right, well, if y'all don't have anything else, that's all for me, so we can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Hey, now that we're done,